make more money, get more promotions, do better in your life, and get more of what you want in your life if you develop skills. You told me when we met earlier that you would do something that where you could make more money. You were going to stay where you're at. I'm showing a way where you can make 2, 3, 4, 5 times what you make, but yet you're a little bit hesitant. I'm not really understanding that thought process. Can you make that more clear for me? Right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do a presentation, I'm going to do a fantastic presentation, I'm going to make sure you understand exactly what we do, I'm going to sell the heck out of why our opportunity, what we do, and what we do for people is phenomenal. And then I'm going to talk to him how he can make money, and he told me he wanted to make more money. If he says, well, I'm not sure, I'm going to say, listen, you told me when we met earlier that you would do something that where you could make more money, you were going to stay where you're at. I'm showing a way where you can make 2, 3, 4, 5 times what you make, but yet you're a little bit hesitant. I'm not really understanding that thought process. Can you make that more clear for me? So what did I tell him anything?
No.
No, I asked a bunch of questions. You see that? Because when you're asking questions, you pull people towards you. And when you tell people stuff, you push them away. Okay, that's how it works. Telling is pushing, asking is pulling. Think of that. Telling is pushing, asking is pulling. Okay? So when you're just, that one is like, well, he's a good talker. He talks a lot. He should do great in our business. No. Those people don't do great because all they do is love to hear their own voice. They don't find out any information. I'm finding out all kinds of information that can help me push it to recruit him at a minimum. I'm going to turn him into a client because he's got a wife and kids and owns a home and all this stuff. So he's a perfect client, even if I don't recruit him, and I know he's in the right market, that the people he knows and shares time with and is friends with or family members, they're going to be in a similar situation. He's going to be an amazing referral base, right?
Right.
At a minimum. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So see, but you've got to learn how to do that. If this is not part of what you've done in your life, listen to Overcoming Objections over and over. You're going to learn how to ask questions in a very non-intrusive way that gets people to give you info, right? And that's what you need. So what was I doing when I'm asking those questions? What was I doing? Anybody know? Qualifying him, right? I want to qualify to see if I should spend more energy trying to meet him or not. If he tells me, no, I'm single and I'm living with 4 other guys in an apartment and I'm having a great time and all that, no, I'm not gonna go any further, okay? Because it's a waste of energy. Not the right guy, right? But he is the right guy. So then in that case, I'm gonna follow up and follow up and follow up and then follow up some more, okay? That's what I'm going to do with that person. And even if I don't recruit him, right? Even if for whatever reason I make him a client, but it just can't see himself getting involved, right? With me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, Brandon and Lexi, listen, I know right now maybe the timing is not right. I want to apologize. Because obviously I had to present this in a way that was compelling for you to say, I want to get involved. I apologize for that right now. But I just think that you guys would be spectacular in our business. I mean, you don't know this because you don't know how our business works, but I know that you two are like, you're so perfect and you would do so well if you were to get involved and just follow our system. I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt. Would you have a problem if I followed up with you and just kept you abreast of what was going on with me and changes in our company? Would you have a problem with that? No problem. I just want you to know when I call you, I don't want you to perceive it like I'm badgering you or asking you. What I want you to think about every time I call you, every time I contact you, is that I really see amazing potential and qualities in you that I think could turn into huge success. So I want you to think of it, because I want you to be honored when I call you. I don't want you to ever think like you're being badgered, okay? All right, great. Thank you very much. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start following up. I'm going to find out during that process, I'm going to find out all his interests. I know you like to water ski or you like to do triathlons, you do whatever you do, right? I would find out every time if I read a thing about the triathlon that's happening in Kona, for example. I used to own a house on the Big Island, and they used to have the race every year, right? That was one of the major things, right? So an article about that. I would send an article. I'd email the article, say, I don't know if you saw this or not. I thought you might find this interesting. How things going? How's Lexi? How your kid? Blah, blah, blah. Let me just tell you, I just got promoted to regional leader. I just got promoted to RVP. Things are great. I just won a contest to wherever, right? Hawaii, blah, 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 right? I would tell him what's going on, and I would keep him, and I would keep following up with him. I followed up with Rick Susie, who was a very good friend of mine. When I quit my job at the end of 1984, I went full time in Primerica. I followed up with Rick Susie for 18 months. Wow. Followed him by his work, you know, just sent him stuff. I followed up with him, right? And he kept saying, no, it's not for me now. And then one day, he was supposed to get a bonus from work, right, for work he'd done, and he didn't get the bonus. He went to complain. The boss, Skip says, who's one of our boss, he worked at the same company, told him, you're lucky to have a job, Rick. And Rick goes, what? You know, and he got it. Would you get upset if somebody said you're lucky to have a job when you had qualified? Oh, yeah. The person who received a bonus, like they didn't get the bonus, and they didn't give it to him just because they didn't want it to pay him. Right. Wow. So he got really upset, obviously. And you know, Rick, he was like screaming a blue streak, right? He was telling me, you know. And so I said, hey, listen, he just had a baby. I said, listen, I want to come by and see Eric, you know. And that's why I talked about what's going on with you. When was a good time? And I got off the phone and I told my wife, Jen, I got him, man. Right? I'm going to recruit this guy because now he's really pissed at his employer. I was starting to do well as an RVP at that time. I was making 8, 9, 10 grand a month. I was making decent money, not great money, but decent money. And I went over there and I said, look, you got to look at this one more time, Rick. Let me show you what's going on. And I showed him again. I said, Rick, you're crazy not to do this. You are better than 99% of everybody I've seen in Primerica. The skills you have and how great you are with people and selling and your focus and your tenacity. Like, you would make millions here if you got in with me, dude. You cannot tell me no, dude. You need to get in with me. And he was ready. So he did. He got in. Submitted his licensing pack, never went to meetings because he couldn't let his employer, because I recruited a bunch of people from the company we both worked at, so I was like, they had a picture of me with the red line. So he came in and I recruited like 20 some people for him, like in the next 2 or 3 months. When he got his license, he went full time and he was making $70,000 a year that was 1986, which today would be like making 150 or 160 grand a year, right? Quits his job, goes full time. His first full year as an RVP, he made $232,000. He does. He does over half of my business. He does about $1 million. I think last month he did $1.7 million, $1.8 million in premium. I probably, from following up that 18 months on Rick's business, I've made about $25 to $30 million from following up with him. But do you think Rick Susie would have followed me if I wasn't good?
No.
You sure? Do you think he would have given up his job if he didn't know I was really good and knew what I was doing and could teach him how to be successful? You think that ever would have happened?
Nope.
No. See, it always comes back to that. You want to attract better people? Then you have to get better. You have to get a lot better than you are right now. So you got to get your people skills up, right? I told a bunch of people, I did a meeting about a month ago in California. There was 2,500 people there. And I told everybody, there's a book called Les Giblin. It's called Skill with People by Les Giblin. Okay? Skill with People. You can get it at HectorLaMarque.com. I carry that book because it's that important. It's a little pamphlet. How long does it take to read that? 23 minutes, covered however you can read it. 23 minutes. Miguel, I told everybody, if you had a brain in your head, you would read that book 21 times, every day for 21 straight days. You would read that book. And you get your people to do the same thing. Because people skills are critical to you building something. But you have to really learn how and what it is to be really skilled with people, because building a business is determined by people wanting to help you with whatever it is you're doing, right? Attracting people, keeping people, having people want to help you with your agenda, whatever that is. It requires skill with people. And if you might have decent skill with people, but you know what? Your skill with people could be exponentially better than it is right now, and your results will start matching that. So what's happened since you've read that book? What do you think? big change, right? Huge, right? So I don't know who else did that at the 25-minute, but I doubt it was more than 1 or 2% of the audience. And I'm telling you, there's 800 people here. I wish every one of you do it, but the reality is probably won't do it, right? So I'm challenging you here right now. If you did it, even if you didn't stay in Primerica, your current career, whatever career you do, I promise you, you'll make more money, get more promotions, do better in your life, and get more of what you want in your life if you develop skill with people. You ever get in arguments with your spouse? It's because your skill with people sucks. Okay. Right? That's why you have a problem with your spouse, because you don't really understand the dynamics and the psychology of skill with people. Right? You learn that, and I promise, your kids, you want to have a better relationship with your children, you want to get them to do more of what they should do, then grow your skill with people. Because guess what? Your kids are actually our people too. Okay. You need to get that down. Leadership. We've got to master leadership, folks. Leadership is everything. It's not almost anything. Like Art Williams, who was the founder of our company, right? He said, you show me a successful Boy Scout troop, successful church, a successful anything, right? PTA, baseball team, football team, any successful business, and I'll show you a leader at work. You need to be able to lead people, right? If you're going to become successful in any endeavor, it's going to determine, what's going to turn that to a great extent is your leadership skills. And leadership, by the way, is a learned thing. You're not born, they slap you on the rear end, right? A doctor, he's a leader, she's a leader, she's not a leader. That's not how it works, right? Leadership is something you can learn how to master and how to get better at it. You can definitely learn how to do that. So I would read, I'd start with John Maxwell's Developing the Leader Within and Developing the Leaders Around You. Those two books are like the beginning. He has it's written like 50 books or something. All of them are great. But I would start with those two. Developing yourself and developing people around you. In our business, you have to develop yourself and you've got to develop the people around you. Okay? And then time management, I talked about that. There's a book by David Allen called Getting Things Done. David Allen, Getting Things Done. Read that book. Or anything you can find on time management, you should read if that's an issue for you, okay? Because we all have the same 24/7, don't we? Right? So the difference between why some people become mega successful and others don't is what you do with the 24/7 that you have, that each of us has. We all have the same amount of time, right? And we're at Primerica, we all have the same business opportunity. We all have the same contract potentiality. We all see the products in market. We all the same everything, right? So the difference is what you do with the 24/7 you have available to you. How do you use that time, or how do you waste that time? Because you're either spending time or investing time. Right? So when you're in your car and you're listening to the radio, you're spending time. If you're listening to an audio that can help you grow your business or grow any part of a skill set you need, then you're investing time. This morning, you're investing time. This is not spending time. Have you learned anything today that you think might be helpful for you going forward? Yes. Okay. So that you've invested in yourself and time. You didn't waste this, right? You've been doing a lot of other things that could have been spending time, accountability. Look, one of the things, I never had a problem holding people accountable because I was doing everything I wanted those people to do. Mm-hmm. Why people have a problem holding their people accountable is they're not personally doing the things they want their people to do. And naturally, none of us want to be a hypocrite, right? Nobody wants to be a hypocrite. And so subconsciously, when you know you're not doing everything that you could be doing, you're going to have a very difficult time holding people accountable. One of the reasons I was so focused on personally becoming a perfect recruit, doing all the right things, is I wanted to feel comfortable and good about holding everybody accountable, right? So it's important that you're managing yourself and doing the right things. You got to hold people accountable. You got to master the 7 fundamentals. I don't have time to go into them, but I'm going to tell you what they are. I have audio at on HectorLaMarque.com, the website. You can get the audio and learn everything you can and want about that. There's 7 things that you have to master. And if you master them and then you actually work, I promise you, I guarantee it, you're going to have success. This is not like a maybe, I might succeed. This, by the way, isn't one of those things where if the stars are aligned with Mars and everything's perfect, I might succeed at it. Okay? This is a business when you master certain fundamentals and you work, you will make money. You will succeed. It's not a maybe thing. It's a for sure thing if you do the right things, okay? That's the gotcha of Primerica. And why most people don't succeed is they personally don't do the right things. And then, of course, they struggle or they don't have any success. But when you do the right things go great. Would you agree with that, Brandon? They absolutely do, okay? So, number one, prospecting. And these are in the order of where you need to learn them. You need to learn how to prospect. Prospecting, for if you're brand new, what you need to do is you need to put together a list of all the people you know, right? Put that list, get your phone book out, get your cell phone directory out, put down every single person that you know, people you've worked with, people you've gone to school with, people that you were in clubs with, people that you go to church. I say there are people that you do whatever that you know that you used to work with, that everybody you can think of. Okay, put them on a list, and then you qualify them. Are they married? Do they have children and all that? But put the biggest list you possibly can. If you can put together a list of 25 or 50, some people can do 100. The more, the better. And then you qualify which ones you want to. You have with your leader. Qualify which ones you want to see first. Okay, and then learn how. Once you have that list together, that's your prospecting list, right? You need to know how to call them and talk to them to get an appointment with them. And you need to role play how to do that with your leader, whoever the trainer is in your business, right? Find out how to prospect, how to call them, right? How to set the appointment. That's the second thing. Prospecting, setting an appointment. The third thing you have to learn is how to do a presentation, how to present what we have to offer. Okay. And if you're brand new, you're going to learn that through watching your trainer do that. You're going to, if you're going to watch him do it 10 or 15 or 20 times, the more the better. The more you can see the process, the better you're going to be when you're on your own and you're doing it yourself. Yeah, I would recommend 15, 20 appointments. You should go on with a really competent field trainer so you can learn how to do this. Because once you learn how to do it, it's like riding a bike. You don't have to relearn it. You know it, okay? So learn how to present. The fourth thing is you got to learn how all the products work. How do each of the products work that you're going to market? How does our life product work? And how does it work versus cash value? How does our investment products work? How does our debt elimination product or whatever products we have? You have to learn how they work so that you can tell the features and benefit. Because if you can't tell the features and benefit, you can't explain to a person and make a compelling argument to why they should become a client. You're not going to make any sales. You're not going to make any money. You got to teach people how to do that. They don't just learn it through osmosis. You got to teach them how to do that. And then you got to learn how to teach them how to overcome all the objections. People will say things when you go on appointments. I like to think about it. I want to talk to my agent. I'm not ready to go ahead yet. They'll all kinds of different things. There are specific ways to overcome those kinds of objections or questions or concerns that come up. Okay. Then you got to master all the products, right? And then you got to learn how to recruit somebody at the kitchen table because this business, I built my business at the kitchen table. I recruited almost nobody in a meeting personally, okay? I recruited everybody I personally ever recruited. I went to their home. I met with them one-on-one because I wanted to make sure beyond a shadow that they understood everything. And then I brought them to a meeting, and the meeting solidified what I talked about. That's how I recruited people. Okay. And our recruiting ratio, folks, when I wanted to recruit somebody, it was pretty much 80, 90% to 100% that I was going to recruit that person if I wanted to recruit them. I made such a compelling argument and I showed them and overcome all their fears and questions and I closed them on getting involved with me because I would tell them straight up, hey, Miguel, if you get involved with me and you follow my example, you listen to me and you do what I teach you how to do, it's literally impossible for you to fail. I will not let you fail. Okay. That's not going to happen. I'm going to teach you how to double, triple, quadruple your income if you get involved with me, okay? Can you find any reason why you wouldn't want to get involved with me? Are you ready to get going? Let's get going then. And I would just tell them straight up, right? That's what I was going to do. Can you do that if your skill set's low, or your knowledge base, and your self-confidence low? You can't do that. You can't do that, but you should be able to do that. And then you got to get people's lists and get them in the field, folks. The bottom line, I talked about a lot of different stuff and mostly about working on yourself, but let me just tell you what happens when you do all this, okay? I have been financially independent since 1988. That year that I made 800 some thousand, that 5 years, my budget during that time period, I had one car payment that was $200 a month. I had a $1,500 a month house payment. and I didn't have any other debt. And I lived in an 1,800 square foot tract home. I was making a lot of money in that little budget. My personal budget was about $300 to $3,500 a month. My business budget was probably about $2,500 a month at that time. So it was about 5 to 6,000, right? And so during that time frame, I made about $1,500,000. And so my budget was about 500,000 of that. I saved, I don't know, after taxes, I'd probably say six, seven, $800,000. And based on my budget, I was financially independent. I've been financially independent for a long time. 92 was the last year I worked in the field. I built a big business by then. And my income has grown every year since then, right? From that initial focus that I had in that 5 years, kind of created everything. As a result of that, folks, I don't have any debt. I have a lot of money saved. I still make a few $1,000,000 a year. And with basically no overhead other than I have some business overhead. It's relative to my income, it's about 10% of my income. And so that allows for a lot of freedom. I have 2 kids. Janae, by the way, she wrote and directed. She went to Stanford University. She went to AFI, got her advanced degree or master's in screenwriting. Her first screenplay she wrote. She just this last year wrote and then she directed the movie, and the movie is premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival next Saturday night. Next Saturday, I'm going to be in New York City, going to walking the red carpet.